What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Belita, and I'm back with some more disturbing reactions. As you can see, we got a familiar face right here in the thumbnail. It's not even the thumbnail. The freeze frame. We got your boy EDP445, and he is part of the most disturbing crimes in the Lolcow community. So without further ado, let's start.
These are the most disturbing crimes that happen in the Lolcow community, with each case becoming progressively worse.
Shout out Yapmaster, this just dropped today. W Yapmaster. TikTok degenerate. Alright, here we go.
Swag Ryan Mario 64 was a TikTok creator who managed to build a steadily growing audience of nearly 10,000 followers in 2024. He became known for his short skits where he played different characters, most notably from the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise, in humorous and exaggerated scenarios. Over time, this allowed him to become recognized by people on the platform, though often for the wrong reasons. He was frequently ridiculed and made fun of for his eccentric personality and the uniquely expressive way he presented himself in his videos. And while he was initially seen as just a strange creator with very peculiar behavior, it wouldn't take long before his dark side started to emerge. In July of 2024, as his online popularity continued to grow, Ryan decided to lean into the chaos. He created a new Discord server called Swag Squad and began inviting people to join, including a couple of trolls, who he deliberately brought in to mess with him, all in hopes of generating even more attention. And every once in a while, Ryan would hop on a call with members of his community, and it was during one of those calls, with roughly 50 people watching, that Ryan recorded himself drinking hand sanitizer live. During this time period, he would also be seen saying extremely hateful things to his own mother after she interrupted him while he was on another call.
I will you in your sleep, woman! Go make me a sandwich! Now!
Shortly after this incident, a young individual named Triple, who was also part of his server at the time, received a call from Ryan himself. And during the call, Ryan spent nearly an hour yelling and venting about the trolls targeting him. However, towards the end of the conversation, Ryan began flipping through his notebook, and to Triple's surprise, he suddenly made an inappropriate remark, despite being very aware of Ryan's age, which was clearly stated in his bio. Just a few days later, however, Ryan would be exposed for something far more disturbing than anything he'd done before. On August 6, 2024, Ryan's friend, who we'll call Wag, would confront him about a certain rumor that had begun spreading around.
Ryan, did you engage in inappropriate activities online? I'm confused.
And to Wag's terrible shock, Ryan replied with,
I was tricked. It was a dare. Okay, dare. I said it. I didn't want to, but they forced me to this. Blitz and Joker dared me. If I didn't score at basketball and they didn't know that she was... I was tricked. I tell you, tricked. I'm in the right. Help me.
As it turned out, Ryan had participated in explicit activities with a girl on VR chat. And to make the situation even worse, around this period, Triple found out that Ryan had also been interacting inappropriately with other...
Oh, he's using PSVR. For a second, I thought that was like the meta VR. And he was using the PS friggin' remotes. Those are so old. I swear those are the PS3
Younger
ones. Those are definitely the PlayStation Move controllers.
users on his server. A young ball who we'll call LR, along with his younger girlfriend who we'll refer to as Jamie, were often invited by Ryan to play Fortnite. And during one of their conversations, Jamie would tell Ryan,
You have more fat than meat.
to which Ryan then replies with,
Oh my god, she's hot.
despite being aware of LR's and Jamie's age, since they also stated that in their bios. And Ryan would also send explicit material to LR, saying,
This is what I like, hahaha.
but it didn't stop there. During a call with LR, Ryan also had the guts to share his intentions of wanting to do explicit activities with both him and his girlfriend.
Chica, do you want to have a...
Yes.
With who? Me and who are my...
And before long, Triple would finally call him out for this type of behavior in front of the many people on his server.
How old were they, Ryan?
Triple.
I didn't know!
Little boys. That's what you're attracted to, Ryan?
And as soon as this was posted online, other incidents began to surface as well. These included conversations where he would repeatedly tell people he was chatting with that he would attempt to leave this earth for no reason at all, along with a clip of him talking to a group of young individuals in a Fortnite lobby about the size of his stuff. And while he hasn't faced any legal consequences yet, and with his real age and name still remaining unknown, more and more creators across various social media platforms have continued to bring awareness about him by posting videos exposing him and his actions, hoping that he'll eventually pay for his crimes. But unlike Ryan, this next person showed his freakish obsessions in front of multiple young people.
One of the most hated figures on every social media platform that he frequents.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star. How I wonder what you are.
On June 24th, 2022, an 18-year-old relatively unknown content creator named Nova Online, otherwise known as Gabriel Gage, posted a Wingstop review on TikTok that would end up going extremely viral. This video, along with many other food reviews that followed, would garner him over 300,000 followers on the platform in just a couple of months. But not because people genuinely liked his content, but because his awkward personality and stereotypical Discord moderator appearance made him a running joke online, and most people followed
Of course.
just to make fun of him. But despite this ridicule, Nova's viewership only continued to grow, though people again just watched to laugh at him. At first, his followers were actually
I realized he never explained to the viewers what a lolcow is. So I'll do it. I'll do it right now. It's right in the name. Lol cow. LOL. Laugh out loud. They're basically YouTubers or TikTok, whatever, social media creators who are always the butt of the joke. They always get made fun of. Like their whole thing is people just make fun of them for the sake of making fun of them. And a lot of them will cater towards that, or a lot will start crashing out. And then that just fuels the trolls more, and then you become the lol cow. Where people just constantly make fun of you and laugh at you.
mainly concerned about his health, as he appeared to be very obese. But soon, they would discover something far more disturbing. Nova was following a large number of accounts belonging to young people, and after that very discovery, another incident surfaced that completely destroyed what little dignity he had. A video recording began circulating of Nova, where he was seen singing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star to a girl who wasn't of age, who we'll refer to as Jessica. And aside from that, he would also be seen exposing his lower body to a young person in his Discord server, while wearing nothing but diapers. And not long
Oh, hell no. What the?
after, yet another clip of him suddenly emerged, where he allegedly asked another individual how often they engaged in inappropriate things.
But how often do you?
As more and more of these clips began circulating, Nova would start receiving heavy backlash across his platforms. And because of this, Nova was left with no choice but to defend himself against the mounting evidence exposing him. In one Discord conversation with a user named Program, who confronted him about his messages to Jessica, Nova had this to say.
Yeah, taken out of context how you wanted to sleep in VC with someone much younger and asked her how often she does stuff to herself. They were being intimate towards me and you was being it back. They did it more.
Following this exchange, Nova went
Okay, this guy's like 5 years old in a 19-year-old's body.
on to say,
It's not my fault I'm attracted to smaller humans.
Okay, so he just outed himself. Alright, there it is.
and shortly after this confrontation, Nova went live to address the allegations, claiming that everything was actually Photoshop, while not mentioning
Okay, buddy.
the numerous video evidence of this disgusting behavior around small humans. And because of this very interesting behavior, it was also discovered that during this time, Nova was into age regression, which is basically wanting to revert to an earlier age to find comfort and manage stress. And just when it seemed like things couldn't get any worse for him, photos began circulating online, showing Nova sucking on a pacifier and cuddling a stuffed unicorn, along with screenshots of him posting pictures of himself in a diaper on Discord, saying,
Hoping for a wet night again.
with the way the allegations started to surface one after another, Nova made an attempt to build a case in a server to clear his name, saying,
They need proof of me being inappropriate towards a little human for me to get arrested. I need all the evidence I can get that proves I'm not a... DM me all the evidence you can.
However, instead, he was confronted by server members about his inappropriate actions with Jessica, but some of them actually took his side by saying,
He didn't know she was... It's not even that young either. He's 18. So, they act like she was...
this brought him even more backlash because of how he responded to these accusations, which would allegedly lead to his TikTok account being hacked by some of the people outraged by his actions.
This is not a drill. This is not a drill. My main account just got hacked.
But instead of giving up, he would just make a new account named the Novine Universe, where he would post his old viral content and videos of his workout journey, eventually gaining over 49,000 followers again. And once he gained enough popularity on this account, people who knew him in person began to take notice. And as soon as they discovered all the things he'd allegedly done to numerous people online in the past, they actually decided to report him to his own church.
Hi, I'm texting you about one of your members. Gage or Nova, whatever his name is.
But to this person's surprise, the church's representative would reply saying,
We've been talking to local authorities for weeks now. Thank you for your concern. It's being handled with the police and our head of security. If you have evidence of something illegal, you should report it to the local authorities as well.
they already knew about it, and this would ultimately get Nova banned from the church itself. And the moment he found out,
That's crazy, bro. These mans went to his church and ratted him out. and now he's banned.
He did a live stream responding to the situation, visibly lashing out.
I'm at my breaking point. You're effing trolls who have nothing else better to do!
And after this incident, Nova's alleged ex-girlfriend publicly called him out on his server, accusing him again of having questionable interactions with individuals of protected age brackets.
Nova, screw you for treating me like literal crap for so long. You never cared about me, and you clearly only care about smaller humans, more than your own girlfriend. When you come back to this, you'll say, I was a troll, but sadly, I wasn't. Screw you every time you told me you were too busy to talk to me, every time you told me to send my mom to jail.
And while he still chooses to make content as of today, and even though most of these claims are just allegations, it goes to show that he's definitely not someone who should be near young people at all. This next case, however, involves someone who took his indecent fantasies to real life.
Alright. Where were we?
Indecent fantasies to real life.
You may think you know the story behind what he has done. No one knew the truth.
My hand slip? What does that mean? Where did your hand slip is the next question.
Earl Dupe, also known online as the White Bowser, was a 30-year-old man living in Shelby Township, Michigan. And while not much is known about his childhood, he would go on to start his own YouTube channel. During his time in college, under the name Moniker. On it, he posted a variety of content from his own
That's already sus.
YouTube channel. During his time in college, under the name Moniker.
You guys see what I hear, right?
On it, he posted a variety of content, from his own music to videos about My Little Pony. Considering himself as a fan of his franchise, he even attended BronyCon in
Alright, he's one of those guys. Oh, great. Yep, here we go.
2017, the very one attended by Chris Chan, one of the most infamous figures in the Lolcow
The GOAT? Chris Chan, yo. That's the GOAT right there. That's the OG Lolcow right there. Chris Chan wearing the Sonic 2 medallion, bro. That's the cursed medallion.
community. Up until this point, Earl was just a small-time creator who wanted to share his interests online, and while only a few would know of him, this was soon about to change, for all the wrong reasons. In late 2023, a YouTuber by the name of Nick Nobody would hold an interview with two fellow creators, Kiwi Tapes and Smokey MC, discussing Earl's concerning behavior in their Discord servers. And when asked how they met him in the first place, this is what they said.
First found out about Bowser when people were like hitting me up saying like, yo, there's this dude telling people to like off themselves and all this bad stuff. The guy was like always saying this creepy, and then when people pressed him on it and when he got kicked out, that's when all the news about what he was into and like what kind of he watched, because I think someone asked him about that.
As it turned out, Earl would frequently spend his time arguing with anyone he could find in their servers, most often Smokies, especially those who disagreed with his sickening opinions about fictional young characters. In one instance, someone in a voice chat would ask Earl about the kind of explicit content he would consume, and without much thought at all, he would list two anime series with the titles of Freezing and Tawawa on Monday. Now you have
I don't know either of these.
to know that the first one, Freezing, is an anime about genetically modified young women that have their upper body parts 4 times the normal size, while the second is about a young
Okay.
girl that was repeatedly taken advantage of by a businessman in his late 20s. And even with several people in the call telling Earl how disgusting it was to view such content involving these kinds of individuals for his own pleasure, this is how he responded.
That's because they're cartoons.
So that has nothing to do with it. They're still underage.
They're cartoons.
Holding on to his belief that underage fictional characters being depicted inappropriately should be normalized because they're just cartoons. And he even went out of his way to justify himself, claiming that they'd be completely different from real people.
I do not believe that fictional cartoons that do not exist in the real world can be granted humanitarian rights because they do not exist and because matter cannot be created from nothing, you idiots.
Not only that, but just a couple of days later, Earl would even tell a veteran in Smokey's server to leave this earth after the veteran opened up to other members about the struggles he'd been facing after returning home from deployment.
Yeah, remember when you told an actual veteran who was crying about his friends committing that you supported veterans right to his
I
face?
do not support veterans.
Except you said that you did, Bowser.
This all
This guy. I don't know what we do with him. But we're gonna do something.
also immediately infuriated everyone, and it wouldn't take long before the mods banned him from the server completely. But instead of reflecting on his actions, he took the situation to Twitter instead, tagging Smokey and claiming that his mods had banned him for no reason at all. Meanwhile, members of Smokey's server took the opportunity to dig into Earl's history, and while doing so, they found something absolutely horrifying. It turned out that when they located Earl's Reddit account, they came across a post he'd written back in November 9th, 2021, titled "The Day My Life Turned Into an Anime." In it, he described an incident that happened at his job, where he inappropriately touched one of his co-workers, who we'll call Catherine. And to make things even worse, it was later discovered that Catherine wasn't yet an adult. And what made this increasingly unsettling was the way he detailed what happened.
One night, I was working behind the popcorn counter and was called over by my boss for a nightly meeting. I walked over there and so did all my other co-workers. My boss talked to everyone what jobs were left for the day and how to work together to get everything done faster. At the end of the day, one of my best friends at the movie theater, who I absolutely had a man crush on, put his hands in the middle of the crowd. He always did this, and everyone was expecting to do the same. However, one girl in the group didn't want to do it, and she began walking away before everyone had a chance to put their hands in the middle. Not knowing what was going on in her head or why, as she was walking away, I instinctively swung my arm around and grabbed her shoulder from the back. She turned around faster than lightning and said, "You better hustle." And yes, I'm not even sure that's what she said, because I don't remember. Also, when she turned around at breakneck speed, my hand moved from grabbing the back of her shoulder to the front of her chest. And yes, this all happened within the span of 5 seconds. When she stormed off, I was just standing in shock, with all my co-workers behind me, and they were all looking at me. And all I could say was, I should not have done that. The rest of the night went off awkwardly. I started cleaning my station, and I couldn't find the girl I touched anywhere. A few minutes later, my boss told me to go home, so I drove home saying in my head what just happened. What did I just do? It was really hard working at the movie theater after that. I did not have the courage to walk up to the woman I inappropriately did stuff to and apologize.
And shortly after, he stated that his boss, who we'll refer to as Jack, made it clear that an investigation would be conducted to find out if other women at the theater felt that Earl had treated them inappropriately as well. And Earl agreed, saying that he wasn't afraid of what Jack might find, claiming that all the women there actually liked him instead. 2 weeks later, Earl was called back into Jack's office, where he was told that most of the women who'd been interviewed admitted that they felt uncomfortable with the way Earl had treated them or spoken to them. With all of this information coming to light, the number of people on the internet bashing Earl grew more and more every day. And amidst all the outrage against him, Kiwi also appeared in another interview with Nick to reveal more things about Earl. Earl's situation was spiraled even further. Just a day after his last stream on his channel, he would send a text to Kiwi, informing him of his plans to start a weekly podcast called 110 Autism. And for some reason, Earl believed Kiwi was on his side. And needless to say, Kiwi took Earl up on his offer. On the first episode of the podcast, Kiwi would get Smokey on the call to confront Earl about all the horrible things he'd done and present it to his audience.
You laugh at people who are going through hard times, like, you think like God looks at that and goes, "That's cool, Earl." Like, yeah, bro, I'm down with that.
And after getting called out by Smokey, Kiwi would actually tell Earl that people paid to come on the podcast and talk to him. So he had to sit and listen to everything they had to say, which pretty much prevented him from leaving, despite being shamed for his actions in front of all of these people. And the moment he reluctantly agreed, another guest named the Cow Wrangler showed up to rip Earl's public reputation even more. And while Earl was starting to freak out during the podcast, Wrangler went even further by revealing that Earl had inappropriately fantasized about Ai-chan, the young female protagonist from Tawawa on Monday. Aside from all of these weird things he'd done up to this point, it would also be revealed that he called his friend named Ricky the N-word after Ricky tried to give him some advice about the situation he'd gotten himself into. And as if that wasn't enough, not long after the first episode was released, it was revealed that a few weeks before its publication, someone had actually left a comment on one of Earl's YouTube videos, telling him to not return to the movie theater where he used to work. And after seeing this comment, Earl somehow managed to interpret this as a bomb threat and immediately drove to the theater, telling everyone they needed to get out because they were in grave danger. And as soon as the police had arrived, they evacuated everyone and cleared the theater of any threats, with their police report being, when police interviewed a man named Mike Sadel, who was a staff member at the theater,
he explained that there had never been any threat. He also stated that Earl was a former employee who'd been terminated over a year earlier for inappropriately touching Catherine, his female co-worker.
Mike further explained that Earl approached him and other staff members, claiming the theater could be shot up or bombed, referencing a YouTube comment as a source. However, Mike noted that the comment didn't even mention the theater. It was actually a reference to an early 2000s animated TV show named Homestar Runner, in which a character, King of Town, is referenced. Right after that, the police went.
Right, ain't no way this. He took that comment and he took it the wrong way and caused all this problems.
On to interview Earl at the scene, and after explaining the reason he'd done all of this, he decided it was a brilliant idea to tell the officer about the incident that happened between him and Catherine. And so the police report would continue with,
Earl then directly jumped to the situation between him and the employee from over a year ago, which caused him to be terminated, saying he accidentally touched her chest, and it was for 10 seconds.
A few days would pass after this, and after Kiwi found out about this information, he would actually manage to get Earl on a second episode of the podcast to inform him that he never wanted to talk to him ever again.
I just want you to know, I do not like you. You are You are everything that these people call you. I'm never talking to you again. This podcast is never getting another episode.
This interaction between the two of them only proved further that Earl didn't care about what he'd done and was only concerned about getting paid from the podcast. But unsurprisingly, a couple of days after the episode aired, another horrifying discovery about Earl came to light. It turned out that Earl had his own anime Discord server filled with younger individuals. And this server was rumored to have people as young as years old. And the admins on the server were known to be inappropriate. Nick investigated all of this and soon found out that under the screen name Daddy Butcher, Earl was doing some very inappropriate things with his members. Another thing Earl did was use a young member as bait to lure in potential predators within his server. In one instance, he told the young person,
"If you're wondering why I mentioned your age in my Discord server, it's because I wanted to see if I could bait out and catch bad actors. Remember, I'm a smart man, 110 IQ for a reason. DM me if anyone in the server takes advantage of you or otherwise."
Upon seeing this, Kiwi and Smokey would once again insult Earl on their podcast for exposing explicit material to young individuals in his server. And after Earl left midway through the call, while being ripped to shreds in front of everyone watching, he sent a message to Kiwi saying,
"Hello Kiwi, as of today I am blocking you on Discord and the podcast is ending. I was visited today by a private investigator who had to take a report about how you and the trolls are trying your best to criminalize me. The investigator assured me I did nothing wrong. You harassed me, that's one thing. You harassed the state and the law, that's another thing. Now the police took a statement from me on the whole situation. If you trolls continue to harass the police, they will open a case against you and Smokey and you will be prosecuted, especially Smokey. I am not a PDF. I'm not the one who preys on younger people. And now that the police are involved because of the trolls, this will be the end of our communication forever. The trolls officially ruined it, Kiwi, and the law is involved now. The case will be reopened if the police keep getting harassed. Then you and Smokey can kiss your YouTube careers goodbye."
And from then on, Earl would avoid interacting with Kiwi and Smokey completely and would instead explain the situation to other people in an attempt to prove his innocence. One of these people was another person named Froggy Donut. He first reached out to Earl, claiming he was an online reporter who wanted to know about Earl's situation. But during their exchange, Froggy discovered even more terrifying things about him. And this is their conversation.
Bro, this guy's lore never ends. People keep finding more and more.
Were there in your server? So
And I've said yes, there were.
all right.
There are allegations I'm seeing a lot of that you streamed in this server. What's that about? Did you do this?
Only once.
Not only did Earl expose himself by admitting that he'd shown extremely inappropriate material to younger people in his server, but also revealed that there were occasions where the mods in his community were caught taking advantage of these members, and nothing was done about it. And after their conversation was published online, Earl once again became the subject of intense public outrage. Some people even managed to find his home address and began sending various things to his house just to get a reaction out of it. And when Earl started receiving mysterious boxes repeatedly, he was seen taping makeshift signs out of his house that read,
"This house has been targeted by cyberbullies and internet criminals. Please leave me alone. I have a disabled mother I'm trying to take care of. I'm leaving the internet."
However, this wouldn't stop the harassment from getting even worse. On one occasion, someone sent a clown for his birthday who livestreamed the entire encounter, and upon knocking at the door, Earl's mother, who we'll refer to as Cynthia, answered and immediately shut it in the clown's face. All of this would cause Earl to unblock both Kiwi and Smokey and send them a message before blocking them once again.
"Your people are coming to my house now. People or strangers with face paint and worse. Coming to my house and harassing my mother. This is no longer funny, and real people are in danger here. I don't think you want blood on your hands. You are internet trolls clearly, but you don't want people unalived, do you? My mother was lucky enough that they only had a cell phone on them this time. Next time they could have a gun or knife on them. Next time my mother might have her life put in danger when they are at the front door. This is a warning, so listen closely. I've told the police to make frequent checks at my house crossroads. If people show up at my door again just to scare me, then they will be arrested and prosecuted. And if you are found to be in league with them, then you will be punished severely. Now I've made mistakes. I touched a woman inappropriately by accident. I showed explicit content to people. Yeah, I know it's messed up. You can call me a degenerate all you want for that. But once my mother's life is put in danger, you cross the line."
And shortly after making this message known, Earl, now desperate to do just about anything to stop people from coming after him, would make his infamous apology video about all his wrongdoings. In one of the segments of his video, he went to further explain the incident involving Catherine. And if he couldn't have explained it any worse than this, he said that his hands just slipped and described the entire interaction as an anime moment for him.
My hand slipped and it touched her chest. That's all I can say. It truly was an anime-esque moment.
Yo, bro, thought this guy was in the freaking ecchi anime.
On top of that, he even compared Catherine to her twin sister, who we'll name Ellie, saying that her upper body was larger compared to Catherine. Several days after posting this video, someone started investigating him, who we'll name Zach, and he actually decided to get in contact with Catherine herself to get her side of the story, since Earl had now revealed her identity to the entire internet. While talking to Zach, Catherine disclosed the fact that she was still not of age at the time of the movie theater incident, and up until this point, nobody knew about those facts. And so as soon as this piece of information got out, Earl pleaded with Kiwi and Smokey to let him cut back on their podcast so he could explain himself out of the situation. After claiming he didn't know Catherine and Ellie weren't of age, they were joined by returning guest Wrangler, who made Earl expose himself even more. Once again, he confirmed yet another allegation against him, that he allowed the daddies in his server to have their way in talking inappropriately to their other members. This caused even more backlash across multiple communities that had witnessed his exposure. And a few weeks later, Earl would go on to delete every single video on his channel. And for a while, the only updates his follower would receive were the posts from his community tab.
Is it right for me to be bullied off the internet? Yes, actually it is. I just had a screaming and crying fit of a mental breakdown in my bed that lasted over an hour. Oh my god, that felt so good. I spent almost an hour inappropriately doing stuff with my stuff while watching Tawawa on Monday.
Eventually, Earl would delete his channel altogether and would make one last appearance where he was exposed talking to an unknown person in a Discord server about his new job, working with mentally challenged younger people. However, fortunately, he would end up getting the job, after the same person revealed everything he'd done to his employer, and he confirmed that on his own public post, saying,
"It was revealed to me that I did not get a new job due to an undisclosed person operating as a middleman and buddy troll. I am still unemployed, and I'm thankfully making money from my unemployment checks. This will be the last win the Lolcow community gets on me. I have scheduled the last of my social media accounts for deletion 2 weeks from now. All my Discord data will be destroyed. I do have a burner account on YouTube and Reddit, but I cannot use them for interaction, only for lurking and spying. I know I cannot post any activity on my LinkedIn account, because these people are spying on that social media page. The only way I can update my career status is through a personal resume attached file sent to employers. Playing video games online is a no-go. I have to do it all offline in solo mode. I cannot make friends with anyone on the internet. 50% of the way I communicate and make friends in the world is gone. I cannot talk online without being discovered. Real-world interactions is all I have now. And in 2023, with the power of the internet, this is pretty sad."
And soon after, with all of these horrible actions now finally catching up to him, Earl completely disappeared from the internet and has been on it ever since. The next person, however, is even worse.
He admitted to some of the worst crimes humanly possible.
It's December 24th, 2017. Corbin Panel, otherwise known as Jupiter the Hybrid, a 25-year-old man from Nampa, Idaho, with over 46,000 followers on TikTok, just launched his own YouTube channel called Jupiter Paranormal. But Jupiter isn't your typical guy. He takes on the persona of a werewolf, vampire, human hybrid, and is known for his bizarre antics online. While he decided to make a YouTube account at the time to further make his name and content known, he had initially become somewhat popular due to the majority of his TikTok videos showing him arguing with a version of himself from another timeline, which he believes is trying to steal his identity. What seems particularly strange though is that his TikTok bio says,
"My other account got banned, but it's okay. I have this one and I still love Abby."
The person Jupiter is referring to, Abby, is a girl he brings up on multiple occasions. At one point, Jupiter even revealed that he'd proposed to her despite talking to other girls. But during an interview on the YouTube channel Siwa Moon, Abby would expose some pretty shocking things about her relationship with Jupiter.
Again, you were when y'all met, like
Yeah.
in person?
Yeah.
That's scary to me because that means he was 18, which is illegal.
After revealing he was 18 and she wasn't when they first met each other in person, she goes on to address something even worse than what had already been discovered.
Has Jupiter ever tried to lay hands on you?
Yes, when I was
In violence or?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
From here, everyone who watched the interview was left even more shocked by what they just heard. His YouTube and TikTok channels would soon stop growing altogether. And after a while, he was asked directly about the situation. And this is what he said.
"I didn't know such thing, and she knows. I didn't know."
A few years would pass, and despite constantly denying ever doing any of this, it turns out that Abby wasn't the only individual who has been preyed on by Jupiter. Linda Binda is a YouTuber who's been playing a satirical persona as a decoy in order to lure Jupiter into exposing himself and catch him in his predatory acts altogether. And in one of her videos, posted on May 12th of 2023, Jupiter is seen showcasing his method of contacting women on the internet. He would also make the whole situation worse by telling the story of how he once turned off his censorship and started talking dirty to Abby, who was of course a different age than him at the time, after she sent him pictures of herself. Apart from that, Linda would also talk about another instance where Jupiter requested suggestive pictures from her, despite knowing her age. And when Linda called him out for doing these kinds of things, he would change the topic in a frantic way, saying,
"Let's not just rewind time and think about that.
Okay.
Focus on what's happening in the present, not in the past."
In the other videos recorded by Linda, Jupiter also delves into his delusions by claiming to have a wife named Shiro Tora, who's actually a My Little Pony doll. As their call progresses, Linda asks whether Jupiter had with his proclaimed wife, and unsurprisingly, Jupiter goes into disturbing detail about this.
"You've had with her?"
"Yeah, but I made her promise no more after like our last set of triplets. I told her no more. I was done."
To give more context,
yeah, you brony people, there's no helping you. This is your man's. This is your man's right here.
about where his unsettling behavior could have stemmed from, it's important to dive deeper into his family's criminal history. His younger brother, Shane Panel, was actually arrested for physically hurting a smaller human and is scheduled to be released in 2027. His older brother, Duke, who's currently about 40 years old, was arrested when he was 32 and charged for engaging in indecent conduct with a girl we'll call Carol, who was also a younger individual who babysat his own little humans. And it was later revealed that he'd actually gotten her pregnant. Detectives found
So this runs in the family.
out and had Carol call him while recording the conversation, during which he told her she had two options. She could keep the baby and let him take care of it, or she could terminate the pregnancy. To protect his reputation and stay out of trouble, Duke asked Carol to lie about the pregnancy, saying she'd been taken advantage of after getting drunk at a party, so she didn't actually know who the father was. But of course that didn't work, as Duke would end up getting arrested, charged, and sent to prison. He's since been released though, and is now married again. Jupiter's sister, on the other hand, who we'll refer to as Madeline, actually appears in an interview with Linda, and this is what she says about her family.
I mean, I've been talking with my biological father, and he does say that a lot of the men, specifically the men in my family, my biological family, are predators.
To escalate even further, Madeline also reveals that she has an ongoing restraining order against her brother, Jupiter. This proves that Jupiter wasn't just displaying his twisted behavior towards people he met online, but also towards his own family as well. His aggressive nature can also be seen in another interview he did with Linda, where she asked him what his deepest, darkest fantasy was.
What's your deepest, darkest fantasy? My darkest fantasy is to watch all those who wronged me die by my hand.
And aside from his violent threats towards people he claimed had wronged him, there was another equally disturbing side to his behavior. In one call, a certain individual, who we'll call Jasmine, asked if she can still send him pictures despite her age, and he would simply agree. And on top of that, another leaked video shows Jupiter talking to a person he believed wasn't quite mature yet, who we'll refer to as Christine, and asking her if she wants to make inappropriate content with him in order to make some money. And Jupiter is also seen messaging individuals on Discord, and in one particular conversation he makes it clear that he wants to have with a user we'll refer to as Debbie.
If you feel like you're mature enough to make babies, then you're old enough to do so. So you would breed me if I'm... Yes.
And much like all of his other social media platforms, he also uses his YouTube channel as a means to target these individuals. In one of his live streams, for example, titled "Hey, is Jupiter here?", he appears to be talking to another individual in a protected age group named Kirsten, and their conversation starts off with him asking her,
Kristen, I'm gonna ask, you male or female?
After which Kirsten replies saying,
I'm a woman.
Jupiter then responds with,
Kristen, you crushing on me?
and then Kirsten says,
maybe a little.
And suddenly Jupiter asks if she wants to get his number.
I love you. What's your number?
Is what Kirsten says. And without any hesitation,
That literally looks like a child. Bro.
he would give out his phone number on his own live stream in an attempt to get in contact with her. During this interaction though, there seems to be another person whose messages were deleted, as Jupiter goes on to say that she and Kirsten can both get his number, and Kirsten would reply with,
I'm younger too.
And to much of their surprise, Jupiter says he's okay with that, and even when Kirsten doubles down by saying,
Did you see how old we are though? Are you okay with that?
But Jupiter would simply ignore the question. Instead, he would proceed to give out more of his social media accounts to the two fans. It's unclear whether Jupiter actually contacted the two individuals he was reportedly targeting on his livestream, but what's even more disturbing is that on January 19th, 2024, he appeared in an interview with the YouTuber Smokey MC we already mentioned to discuss his brother's past crimes, and rather than condemning their actions, Jupiter defended them instead. On one occasion, he would also be tricked into believing that the infamous hacker group Anonymous is attempting to make his imaginary Jupiter powers, and that he would lose them if he didn't repent and apologize for being a... And this will lead to him publishing a video in front of the entire internet, admitting that he indeed was a predator, and begging for the world's forgiveness for taking advantage of users.
It is with a humble heart that I, Jupiter, aka Corbin Pennell, was and am hated for those crimes.
The whole situation would later be explained further by an individual named Joey Tovar, who claims to be one of the people responsible for getting Jupiter to expose himself.
He wasn't swayed by Anonymous, but rather a group of individuals, including myself, who had to manipulate him into thinking we were divine beings that controlled his powers.
What? Yeah, this guy is definitely something wrong up here. This Jupiter guy is something else.
Posed as the Eternal Father and told him that if he did not apologize, I would strip him of his powers. This man only apologized because he's so far deep in his fantasy world that he feared that over actually being remorseful over these users. That's why he doesn't deserve to be a Jupiter. I told him he wasn't allowed to wear the Jupiter name unless he repented.
But unfortunately, this story doesn't end here. Even after posting his apology video, he would admit to still inappropriately interacting with users, and that he's actually only playing along with this group until he finds a way to get them off his back. With how he seems to be giving absolutely no care for his actions and feels no remorse at all, Madeline, in another interview with Linda, reveals that this also comes from his mother, excusing his actions by saying that he isn't in the right state of mind.
Mom would say things like, he's autistic, he doesn't know what he's doing.
And that reason...
I was gonna come to that conclusion as well, but I didn't want to say it. But here it is. I'm not surprised.
The one his mom has used to justify his actions, is now the very thing he uses to excuse himself from a situation.
You're with a old-minded man.
For a moment, it seemed like he might actually get away with the things he's done. But then the situation would take an unforeseen event after the Nampa Police Department issued a statement on Facebook announcing new developments on the case.
Nampa police detectives executed a search warrant at a residence at Redacted, involving internet crimes against small humans. While the investigation is ongoing, no one has been charged yet, and we have no details of the case to release. We wanted to take this opportunity to remind parents that social media platforms can be useful but are often breeding grounds for. Please make sure that you always monitor your little one's social media accounts and report any suspicious activities.
And this would instantly set off a wave of speculations across the platform. And when some began to question whether this was connected to Jupiter, since it's the same city he lives in, he would surprisingly confirm this himself in the same interview with Smokey on February 19th. And as soon as the police entered his house, they began questioning him about his online activity, and soon after would seize his devices for the investigation. Now that the police were investigating Jupiter for the many things he's done publicly, Smokey would also discover in this interview that Jupiter had actually been dating one of these users the entire time. Smokey's co-host, Kiwi Tapes, would immediately confront him about it, right after he just claimed that he no longer did these things.
You know, what's with the your old girlfriend, Jupiter? Like, I thought you weren't doing these things anymore.
Even going by the age of consent in England, the girlfriend in question would still be considered pretty much illegal. And as more of his actions were being exposed, he would begin to freak out, eventually slipping up and admitting to committing federal crimes against these people on Discord.
So you do not deny sending these pictures to underage people?
I had no idea it was happening. It all happened under my nose.
And immediately after saying this, he would make yet another apology, seemingly in an attempt to avoid legal consequences, despite the fact that he's indeed dating somebody illegal.
Yes, I was wrongfully hurting that I shouldn't have. Yes, I was a and I've changed that now, and I'm changed. And I want all the families I ruined to know that I'm changed now. I will come and literally apologize to all of you face to face if I have to.
And while he hasn't faced any official repercussions yet, but still he is yet to face any legal consequences. This next case, however, involves someone who
So he got away with everything he did, even though the police was on it. That's crazy. All right, let's see this guy.
Committed extremely disturbing acts and did not get away with it.
Cyrax is somebody who constantly gets exposed for being one of the worst people on the internet.
The lunatic from Akron? Well, let me get some water. This is my jug of water. Feeling kind of sleepy. This is why I don't eat and then record. Because I get super sleepy and it's game over. Alright. Do this. Lunatic from Akron.
I swear to God, I will hunt you down and beat your within an inch of your life. And that's not a joke.
Those are the unsettling words
Why does he look like that?
of Cyrax, a 30.
Why this guy gotta take a cool name like Cyrax from Mortal Kombat and now ruin the name?
5-year-old man from Akron, Ohio, who's become one of the internet's most controversial figures. Originally known as Patrick Smith and later changing his name to Chance James Finsty Wilskin, he spent years building a reputation that's drawn both ridicule and concern from nearly everyone who's crossed paths with him. He claims he was born at just 26 weeks with a single kidney, 1.5 lungs, and a blind lazy eye. His family background also plays a major role in explaining why his life is surrounded by disturbing events. While his mother, Connie Lobdell, was said to have her own development challenges, his father, Rupel Mark Smith, was a completely different story. On July 26, 1994, a young girl we'll refer to as KS was taken advantage of by a man who chased her off a bike path for about 50 feet before kidnapping her and dragging her into the woods. Based on her description, investigators created a sketch of the subject to help identify it, and just 2 days later, Rupel Mark Smith, Cyrax's father, saw the sketch printed in a local newspaper and called the police, claiming he looked almost identical to the man in the drawing, but insisting he wasn't responsible and had an alibi. When officers came to question him, they noticed a blue 10 speed bike at his home, the same one described by the victim, and Rupel's responses quickly turned incriminating, and eventually he confessed to dragging the victim across the road and doing extremely vile things. He was arrested soon after, and later convicted of kidnapping and engaging in harmful behavior towards a protected group. With Rupel out of Cyrex's life, and Connie unable to take care of him due to her disability, Cyrex was pretty much raised by his grandmother, Sally, who moved him from Alaska to her small home in Akron, Ohio, where she gave him her husband's last name, Wilkins, the same name he still uses today. Several years would pass before Cyrex would be heard from again, but on February 14th, 2012, a case of domestic violence was reported at Sally's house, where Cyrex attacked her by choking and punching her in the back after she told him he couldn't walk to Kansas from Ohio to live with an unknown person who was later revealed to be a catfish. Fortunately, Sally's partner at the time, Ed, managed to stop Cyrex, which led him to flee from the house before finally being apprehended. Shortly after, he was charged with a first-degree misdemeanor domestic violence charge under the city of Akron, but later pled guilty to a reduced charge of fourth-degree misdemeanor, disorderly conduct. He was sentenced to 30 days in jail, with 28 days suspended, giving 2 days of credit for time served, in order to undergo an assessment at Portage Path before being released. He then went on to create his YouTube channel named Chance Wilkins on April 2nd, just weeks after hurting Sally. Around this time, he posted music videos hoping to get his name known, and also adopted numerous aliases like DJ Shallowblade, and most famously, of course, Cyrex, which were later discovered to be stolen from an actual musician named Eric Scroballo, who signed him to a label named Killer Clown Sounds out of pity. But in 2013, things would only get more disturbing. Once he entered high school, Cyrex began spending most of his time with a small group of friends, one of whom was a legally blind student named Billy Seiler, who he described as his closest friend. However, just when it seemed like his social life was starting to go well, Cyrex made an unexpected claim about Billy.
Unfortunately, when I was years old around that time period, I was actually by one of my best friends from high school. Now at the time, I didn't know that he was gay.
What made this even more suspicious was that he said his family had spoken to the school about what Billy seemingly did to him, and that the school's response was to kick him out instead, supposedly so it wouldn't happen again. Since it seemed unlikely that the victim of such a situation would actually be the one getting kicked out of school, Cyrex later added that when this happened, Billy wasn't an adult, while he was already of age at the time. Viewers who heard his claims began to question whether any of this was true, and because Cyrex had already given out Billy's name, they decided to look deeper into it, and it didn't take long before they found Billy's Facebook and reached out to him, informing him of what Cyrex had said happened back in high school. And once contact was made, they got into a call with Billy, and the real story actually became public.
So we were up in my room, it was late at night, probably 12, 1 o'clock on a weekday. When it gets hot, guys tend to take off their shirts and everything. I was either on my belly on the floor, or I think I was searching for something, and the next thing I know is and at this point, I had never given any type of consent whatsoever.
And just like that, Cyrex ended up being exposed that in his adult years, he crossed serious boundaries with a disabled young man. And on top of that, he even threw himself off the roof of a school after claiming that the other student dared him to do it, which left him with a broken arm. And upon recovering, Cyrex actually filed a false police report claiming that he'd actually been pushed. And all of these incidents led to him being expelled from the school. And from there, he began focusing most of his time to the online world. Now, over the years, Cyrex would spend most of his time roaming the internet. Then in 2018, he developed romantic feelings for someone named Cannell Smith. But as quickly as he fell for her, their relationship ended when Cannell cut off contact after he confessed his feelings for her. And when it seemed like Cannell had no business left with him, things took a darker turn. In January 2019, she came out to reveal that Cyrex had been stalking, doxing, and harassing her online. And it got so bad that she had to fake her own death in order to escape from it. This incident led to Cyrex gaining most of his notoriety online, sometime around August of 2019, who got backlash from the Juggalo community, a group of fans centered around the lifestyle and music of Insane Clown Posse, a rap duo known for pioneering a subgenre in hip-hop called horrorcore that both he and Cannell were involved in. And because of this, he became an even bigger target of ridicule. During this period, however, he managed to get him a girlfriend named Heather Crow, who had seemingly abandoned her wife and kid to live with him in person. And not long after that, in October of 2019, one person would later become Cyrex's most persistent troll, Music Biz Marty, who discovered him through the community and began organizing troll campaigns against him. As the months went by, Cyrex continued pursuing his music career, though every attempt only fueled more mockery due to his lack of talent. And as those unfortunate situations kept happening more and more, things between him and Heather began to fall apart as well. And so on May 15th, 2020, she would decide to break up with him after he displayed toxic behavior during an unknown incident, threatening to stab himself in the stomach with a knife to emotionally manipulate her, although the attempt ultimately failed. Now, months after the breakup, in early November of 2020, Cyrex found himself in another online relationship. He began talking to a woman named Caitlin, who was one of the few people who actually seemed to fall for him too. But despite that, he would actually immediately cheat on her with someone named Jasmine for some reason. But unfortunately for him, Jasmine later turned out to be Marty, using a fake account. When Marty revealed that he was behind the catfish account, Cyrex reacted in the way he always did, throwing radical and homophobic slurs at him during a live panel. And after being exposed, he tried to shift the blame by accusing Marty of murder, claiming he made a exotic performer leave this earth, all in hopes that Caitlyn would believe his lie and take a side. Marty then reached out to Caitlyn's family and told them everything about Cyrex, which sent them into a fit of rage. And before long, Caitlyn broke up with him too, which led to Cyrex immediately spiraling, posting videos crying over her while still talking about his ex, Heather. Shortly after, Marty interviewed Caitlyn about her experience with Cyrex, where she revealed all the details most people already suspected, including that he lied to her and mistreated her throughout their short relationship. But even during the call, Caitlyn started acting strangely, making bizarre claims out of
If a guy looking like that is getting attention from females, y'all don't have any excuses. Okay? That's all I'm trying to say. You guys don't be insecure. Look at how he looks like. Someone like him is getting attention from women. I know y'all can do it too, okay? Because I know y'all are not looking like this guy. Blade motivation for you guys. Y'all are good looking men and women. You don't look like him.
nowhere, like
Shoot your shot.
how she sent a man into a coma with a single punch. And when Cyrex saw the interview, he lashed out again, accusing Caitlyn of ending her father's life, even though he had actually passed away from a heart attack. From there, his behavior only drew more attention, and by early 2021, he became the target of a small group of trolls pretending to be women interested in him. Among them were 3 accounts: Strawberry Sunshine, Tangerine Cat, and one called Katrina Luna, who posed as a disabled trans woman named Cindy Lou. Soon enough, these 3 managed to bait Cyrex into sending explicit videos of himself, inserting a stylus into body parts and licking it clean, before the video was eventually shared with Marty. And things would only continue to get worse, because on February 15, during one of his usual live streams where he'd been ranting about his trolls, Cyrex once again took things too far. At first, the stream went as normal, with him complaining about Marty and another troll named Schmecklecat, demanding they stop harassing him and instead target another Lolcow named Tony the Black Dragon, who was a disabled man in a wheelchair.
You and Schmecklecat and Tyler need to stop, Marty. Bro, go after Tony, who's a... Go after him.
But right after claiming that what his trolls were doing was far beyond illegal, he did something very unexpected. He pulled out what he called a 22 custom bolt action sniper and threatened to off anyone who went near Tangerine, the woman he claimed was his girlfriend, even saying he'd put a bullet in Schmeckle and his girlfriend's heads. He then started waving it around, fiddling with the bolt and pointing it at the screen before dry firing the weapon while daring his trolls to come find it. Luckily, he apparently didn't have any bullets in it, but despite openly threatening to shoot people on his livestream, he never faced any legal consequences for this incident. But a couple of months later, on April 11th, Cyrex joined a livestream hosted by Marty, alongside the same trolls who'd been pretending to date him. And as soon as that conversation started, he got confronted for cheating on all of them at once, which led Cyrex to explode in anger, shouting, swearing, and denying everything. But when Marty mentioned Cindy Lou, something in him snapped. He stormed off camera, then came back holding a blade-like object to his neck, threatening to leave this earth on stream. Now Marty and the trolls began to panic and tried to stop him, even calling Sally to make a wellness check on him. But after several tense minutes, Cyrex would actually admit that it was just a pen the entire time. And even after the incident, Cyrex
Bro, this guy's mentally insane.
would go on to repeat the same stunt on 2 more occasions, each time hoping for sympathy but getting nothing but ridicule. And this increasingly erratic behavior eventually drew the attention of people beyond his usual trolls. And in late April of 2021, an investigator named Kate Peters from Masshole Reports, a predator catching YouTube channel, began posing as a girl to expose Cyrex's predatory behavior. And for nearly 2 months, she kept in contact with him while recording every interaction. And in one instance, he even sent an unsolicited picture of his stuff to Kate.
Promise me you won't show anyone. Wow, your stuff is big. By the way, I'll be in May. I'm not too young at all. And it's all yours, smiley face. Your turn, cutie. What do I do? Should I take a picture of my stuff or my other stuff? Anything you want.
Kate eventually went live in early June, revealing the entire sting in front of a live audience. And viewers watched as Cyrex realized what was happening in real time, breaking down in tears on stream. And during this time, Kate explained that she'd actually reported him to local police already. But since the operation wasn't conducted in coordination with law enforcement, no charges were actually filed, leaving...
Damn. Yep, that's a big problem.
Cyrex unscathed by the law once again. After this stream, Cyrex disappeared from the internet, remaining silent for weeks. And when he actually finally responded, he called the investigation fake, claiming that there was no proof. But the damage was already done. This expose spread across the internet, and his name became permanently tied to this incident. In one last attempt to escape the backlash against him, Cyrex started another livestream, crying and begging for people to leave him alone. However, it was already too late. By then, the entire community had already seen what he was capable of. But what truly set him apart in terms of hypocrisy was that even after being publicly condemned as a predator, he still didn't learn his lesson. In October of 2021, Cyrex would meet a trans woman named Trisha through Facebook. Some time would pass, and what started as a short online fling would turn into a 2-week disappearance from the internet, something his trolls started calling his exile. But when he came back, he made the mistake of doing the one thing he should have already figured out not to, making their relationship public. He began posting videos about her, defending her online, and sharing clips of their conversations. But soon after, rumors began to spread that Trisha wasn't actually a woman, and Cyrex would respond with multiple videos where Trisha shouted into the camera through a distorted mic, insisting that she was. Yet what seemed like nothing out of the ordinary for Cyrex would quickly turn into something far more disturbing, as Marty soon found out that Trisha wasn't really the same age bracket as him. Instead, she was in a protected age group with an intellectual disability who couldn't even consent to being in a relationship with someone like Cyrex, a man in his mid-30s who already had a history of this kind of behavior. Once that information surfaced, Marty and the rest of the trolls stepped in and got her banned from her accounts, so she couldn't possibly contact him again. And eventually, she disappeared from the internet entirely. But even after that happened, Cyrex's situation only kept getting worse. On June 13, 2023, he revealed that his household was facing eviction, claiming that one of Marty's trolls had sent someone to their house and ripped down their fence, followed by a plea for financial help so they could keep their home.
But right now, I am asking for money. I am asking for help. I am asking for you guys to help my family get a lawyer that isn't a total piece of
And not long after that, one of his trolls decided to visit him in person, but the encounter quickly turned violent when Cyrex grabbed a bat and attacked the man outside his house. He was arrested soon after, though he was released on bond. Now skipping a couple of years, on June 20th, 2025, Cyrex's behavior spiraled into...
Bro, this guy has some insane legacy, bro. This guy is never... He just keeps coming back every single year.
Another violent confrontation. Around 3 in the morning, he went live again, doing karaoke in his room while Sally tried to sleep. When she walked in to ask him to turn it down, he refused, and an argument quickly broke out. And moments later, Ed entered the room, already furious about the noise, which prompted the shouting to intensify even further, with objects soon being thrown across the room. Distressed, Sally attempted to calm everyone down, but the chaos continued in front of the viewers on a stream. As they watched how the altercation grew more and more out of control, it became clear that this wasn't just another meltdown from Cyrex. People in the chat began contacting adult protective services, and police were even called to check on the house. And when they arrived, Sally actually tried to cover for her grandson, insisting everything was fine, but her reassurance did little to convince anyone. The following day, Cyrex's aunt, Dale Lynn, came to the house to check on Sally herself, and once Cyrex saw what happened, he became visibly angry, accusing Dale of trying to steal Sally's inheritance and threatening to hurt her. Now, despite everything that happened, Cyrex hasn't faced any serious consequence, despite his decade-long history online. But this next person is someone who ruined his life through his...
Well. Is my favorite one. Mr. EDP 445.
series of outrageously sickening acts, despite having been given a lot of chances.
An attempt to catch a person they say tried to meet up with a 10-year-old in Bakersfield.
Brian Moreland, also known as EDP445, began his YouTube career in 2010. Over the next decade, he became known for passionate sports rants, chaotic live streams, cooking videos, gaming, and pretty much gross humor. From the beginning, he was known as a controversial figure due to his offensive jokes and frequent use of slurs, but that only fueled his rise to fame. Clips of his meltdowns went viral, and soon he was appearing in interviews, interacting with other creators, and even catching the attention of NFL players who recognized his name. By 2019, he had built a dedicated following, numbering in over 1 million, cementing himself as more than just a niche sports commentator, but a recognizable online persona. But with fame came ridicule. His impulsive live streams, bizarre food-related rants, and frequent emotional outbursts turned him into a staple target for internet trolls. Entire communities began tracking his every move, clipping his most embarrassing rants and mocking his missteps. His unpredictability and big personality made him a textbook example of a lolcow. But in 2020, he would go from controversial figure to something much worse. On July 9th, 2020, disturbing messages were leaked from Brian's Instagram, revealing that he'd been having inappropriate conversations with multiple people, the first of whom was a girl Will referred to as Trixie. In this exchange, Trixie had initially asked Brian to wish her boyfriend, whom Will called Mark, a happy birthday, but instead, Brian simply responded by requesting explicit photos from her.
You better show me some I don't give a like, you talking about you want me to wish happy birthday, you better show me some
And when Mark confronted him, Bryant replied with a shocking and vulgar statement, saying he didn't care and she could have been any age. Around this same period, multiple screenshots began surfacing, showing him reacting with kiss emojis to several protected users, as well as separate conversations where he made his predatory intentions clear to a girl we'll call Mia, saying,
"You deserve someone that's gonna adore and cherish you. Who would that be? Hopefully me in a few more years. LOL."
But just when it seemed like he couldn't stop preying on these protected groups, yet another conversation was discovered, this time involving a person we'll refer to as Smiley, where Bryant once again acknowledged her age but continued interacting with her anyways.
"Talk to you later. Be safe, babes." Kiss emoji. Being is mad though. All of the responsibilities. Taking med classes, you're a genius. Yeah, I'm 16, haha.
As these allegations gained traction, Bryant uploaded a video titled "These Accusations," where he admitted to sending the messages to several users, but claimed they were nothing more than jokes, blaming his behavior on a messed up sense of humor.
Now, was that my voice in the voice clips? Yeah. Am I a no. Do I have a sense of humor? Yeah.
And while many of his fans actually accepted his explanation, and some even dismissed the situation entirely, others were put off by it and began questioning his behavior. One of them was a YouTuber named Cold Raven, who took it upon himself to investigate the issue further, as he uncovered more about Bryant's disgusting actions behind the scenes, by bringing forward new evidence exposing him to the entire internet. On July 11th, just 3 days after the public became aware of the recent allegations against Bryant, Raven uploaded a video titled EDP 405 Accusations Evidence, where he presented leaked messages from Bryant interactions with a person we'll refer to as Ayesha. Their Instagram chat began with Ayesha asking Bryant his age, to which he replied that he was 29. She then told him she was a revelation that appeared to surprise Bryant. Shortly after, he sent an acquired photo of her to his group chat while making inappropriate comments about her appearance, saying,
"I'd have this girl's body moving on me. That girl's got a huge personality."
However, this image turned out to have been leaked by an unknown person just a few days prior to this video, and once Bryant saw this, he went on to say even more indecent things about her. Now, a week later, he claimed he didn't know her age and had never seen a picture of her at all.
Age? I don't know. I didn't know her age. I never even seen a picture of this.
This blatant lie further damaged Bryant's credibility and made his behavior appear even more suspicious, as the statements only incriminated him further. Because of this, during one of Bryant's live streams a few weeks later, a viewer donated a message mid-stream urging him to address the allegations, saying,
"Stop ignoring the PDF accusations that were thrown at you. Either own up to your mistakes or prove your innocence, because we're waiting for your side."
But instead of taking the opportunity to explain his side of the situation, he instead abruptly ended the stream after reading it. Now, although he began laying low during this time, the allegations resurfaced once again on October 14th, 2020, when Raven uploaded another video revealing that Bryant had recently been following and texting multiple people on Instagram, who again were protected individuals. Raven also showed a conversation between himself and Bryant, in which Raven posed as a protected human, and Bryant said some unspeakable things towards him.
"I didn't mean to laugh. I'm sorry, babe. It's okay. How can I make it up to you? Well, if you want, help me complete something. Next time, I'm fantasizing. LOL. Sorry if that's weird."
On November 17th, the situation eventually caught the attention of Keemstar, host of Drama Alert, who went on to interview Raven and attempted to set up a debate between him and Bryant, but he of course refused to participate. Instead, Raven presented all the evidence he'd gathered from his earlier videos, which only brought even more attention to Bryant's allegations and caused his once loyal fanbase to slowly turn on him. However, the following year, his downfall would be sealed by what would later become known as the Cupcake Incident, an encounter that would cost him everything.
Iconic moment right here. Here we go.
On April 18th, 2021, two YouTubers known for exposing online predators, Alex Rosen, host of the channel Chet Goldstein, formerly known as Poachers, and CC Unit, met up with Bryant for a confrontation they'd been planning for weeks. It turned out that Alex had quietly begun investigating Bryant's behavior off the radar, and despite being a controversial figure himself, known for sting operations that eventually got his channel banned, Alex and his team laid out the groundwork for what would become a moment of absolute destruction for Bryant's career and reputation. He collaborated with a female decoy, posing as a person who we'll name Sophie, and once she got in contact with Bryant, his messages only dropped into depravity as their conversation progressed. In the early parts of their chats together, Bryant was seen to be already aware that Sophie was, and as the days went by, he would start to be the one initiating conversations with her, saying,
"Hey there. Hey, how are you? I'm good, just thinking about you. I had to clean up my place and went live earlier. You okay?"
As time would pass even further, he would start calling her sweet names, and eventually he even agreed to get intimate with Sophie per her request. And once he took the chance to establish a romantic connection with her, he would start to make even more blatant advances.
"You're so cute, LOL. Can't wait to kiss you. You're making me feel all types of ways. Should I come kiss and hold your hand and force it out of you? Wait, back up. How would you force it out of me? Just keep kissing you and nibbling on you until you say it. I know the perfect spot too."
And more stuff that I won't read out. It didn't stop there though. Under the assumption that he was successfully exploiting Sophie into accepting his predatory actions, he would say even more sickening things.
"What's brewing in that little mind right now? I can't wait to feel stuff. My stuff is really hard. I want to grab you and stuff it."
Unable to wait any longer to satisfy his indecent desires, Bryant told Sophie his plan of wanting to meet her in person.
"You're at the Pine Ridge apartment. It's literally across town from. Can't wait wait to see you. I already have it planned out. First, I'll give you the biggest damn hug ever and slowly do stuff.
But while planning to meet her in her apartment, he would express his concern of getting discovered by her parents.
I'm excited to see you tomorrow, but a little nervous. I don't want people looking at me weird. Like, what if your mom and grandma comes home early? Oh, my mom works tomorrow late, and my grandma's running errands. I understand.
And when the day finally came for him to meet her, he nervously warned that she might be trying to set him up.
I'll see you at 4. I don't mean to scare you or anything, but I swear on my life, if this is a setup on some backdoor troll or if police are waiting, it won't be pretty. You'll have to promise me this isn't a damn setup. If something goes wrong here, my butt is on the line. You there?
Brian then still proceeded to go to her location right away.
Why would... He still went even though she didn't reply. That might have been the giveaway right there.
And upon arriving at the supposed meetup place that he planned for, he met 2 people who would confront him about this entire situation on camera. And while I can't show you the full exact video of this sting operation, since some people who shared the additional footage had their videos taken down, it's reassuring to know that later on, this very video will lead to the demise of Brian's career. Immediately after, Alex's team gathered all the evidence and then posted an image of Brian in the channel's Instagram account, followed by a livestream where a female member of the group read through the entire chat logs between Brian and Sophie. From there, many of Brian's fans realized that the person they'd been following all this time was a monster preying on certain people. And what's even more bone-chilling than that is that they found one screenshot in the chat logs among the rest where Brian acknowledged the gravity of his actions, saying,
"If we were to do that and somehow I got out, I'm not saying you would say anything. Your mom can find out, dad and family members. I'm screwed. Not only do I lose my YouTube channel, I go to jail. My reputation is ruined. My life would be completely in shambles."
It showed that Brian was fully aware of how serious his behavior was. Yet despite understanding the consequences, he chose to continue anyways. And just 2 days
Bro was not thinking with his head, he was thinking somewhere else. Oh man. Yeah, you see how easy these people just throw away their careers for a iOS 14 device.
later, on April 20th, the group uploaded the full 50-minute confrontation video, and within hours it spread across the internet, drawing millions of views and turning EDP405 from a once beloved YouTuber and meme icon into a public disgrace. The fallout was both immediate and irreversible, as Brian's subscriber count began to plummet, dropping.
You know what can I even say that on YouTube? What EDP stands for? What he says it stands for? Eat the cat. But then after all this, people were like, no, it's called EDP is enter the prison 445.
Below the 2 million mark he once celebrated, before he eventually chose to private every video on his channel in an attempt to contain the damage. By April 27th, YouTube decided to step in, permanently terminating Brian's main channel along with his backup, effectively erasing nearly every trace of his presence from the internet. And Alex's channel was actually also terminated by YouTube, although the exact reasons remain unclear. It was banned the same time as Brian's, possibly due to the nature of his content. However, as shocking as this was, this didn't completely mark the end of the story. In fact, Brian's downfall had only just begun. Despite being banned across nearly every platform, a few of his side channels managed to stay online, including Chaotic Kitchen 405 and EDP Gaming. And after losing just about everything, Brian tried to rebuild his career. In June of 2021, he made...
I remember this. I was there when he tried to come back.
an attempt at a comeback, returning to YouTube under a new name, EDP_445. But about a year later, after uploading a few videos in hopes of bringing back his viewership, the channel would be taken down too. And to add to this overwhelming downfall, people from his town even started posting flyers with his own face on them, warning residents that he was a danger to protected age groups. In response, Brian simply threatened to take legal actions against whoever posted them.
Yep, keep it coming. I've got the police keeping an eye out on your butts for defamation of character and standard.
Knowing that he was now heinously known in his area, he left his town in Bakersfield, California, and moved to Henderson, Nevada. There he picked up work as a Lyft driver, trying to stay under the radar. But of course, his appearance made him instantly recognizable, and it didn't take long before the company let him go too. At this point, finding work or housing had become nearly impossible for Brian. He even tried to legally change his name, hoping to escape his reputation, which was shockingly successful, although it didn't take long before his new identity was exposed. These constant failures led to emotional breakdowns on Instagram, where Brian would lash out at anyone he felt was still targeting him, and his financial situation got so bad he began selling off valuables, including his original 100,000 subscriber YouTube plaque.
I'm also selling my original YouTube plaque from back up in the day.
But just as he was beginning to face the consequences of what he rightfully deserved, Brian brought himself into another life-ruining situation that only dismantled him even further. In August of 2023,
he does it again, because then I remember this time Gideon sets him up, and I remember watching that video too.
Bryant, who was 32 at the time, was revealed to have an affair with a girl named Kayla, who definitely wasn't 32, while also simultaneously engaging in a long-distance relationship with a 19-year-old named Michaela for over 4 months. And when YouTube creator Master at Work later interviewed Michaela and her boyfriend on his channel, it was revealed that the entire relationship had been a setup. Bryant had actually been speaking to her boyfriend, pretending to be her, regularly sending him videos of himself inappropriately doing stuff, and even responding to a photo of Michaela in a swimsuit with a clip of himself doing stuff again. Kayla, on the other hand, would post a video on August 27th exposing Bryant with all of the chat logs in their conversation, detailing the lengths he went in conveying his twisted behavior.
And EDP first started talking to me when I was... He messaged me first, and I told him my age, and he didn't block me.
Just a few days after the conversation first started, Bryant would begin to reveal his real intentions.
Ever since you told me you were interested in me, I've kinda had this fantasy of pinning you on the bed and doing stuff. You sitting, me being handcuffed with my hands behind my back, and you're on top of me, picking you up and flipping you over.
All other type of wild crap. On top of that, he even had the audacity of threatening to off her if she ever tried to set him up for the authorities, telling her that she only belonged to him.
But I'm telling you right now, if you f me over, if this goes wrong in any way, shape, or form, give your soul to the Lord, because your belongs to me.
And this video too quickly
I don't know how he never went to jail.
Caught the attention of millions, and before you knew it, others eager to expose his misdeeds to the entire internet began taking action too. On September 3rd, 2023, a YouTuber named Gideon, who's widely known for catching online predators and
the GOAT, Gideon the GOAT, catches him again.
fellow creator Skeeter Jean, who produced similar content, posted a video confronting Bryant at a dialysis center. The two had discovered Kayla's situation, and after gathering chat logs and other evidence, they arranged something Bryant was very similar with at this point, a sting operation. The resulting video was eventually removed by YouTube, but shortly after the story spread, Bryant completely lost it on Twitter, writing,
"We live in a day and age where little skank can go around purposely trying to set up fellas. Get a life and get off the internet."
Adding even more fuel to the ongoing controversy, Bryant uploaded a video venting about being exposed yet again. Now a few months would pass, and just like nothing happened, in July of 2024, he returned to YouTube with another channel under a new name, the infamous EDP. And a month later, he uploaded a video titled "Mistakes Were Made," where he ranted about his personal struggles and claimed he'd been in a dark place during the cupcake incident. He also brushed off 2 other instances where he'd been caught, as it was nothing more than just a mistake. As of 2025, Bryant's new channel was eventually terminated too, one of several at this point, though he's since returned once again under a new name, Bryant Moreland 445, where he continues to post content.
Hi everybody,
Oh well. Okay, we're watching
These
Cody
are the
now.
most disturbing.
Okay. That was a crazy one. Ending it off with the classic EDP. I think this guy, the freaking Cyrax, that guy was like whole legacy of nonsense for like almost a decade. Like his story was just like, yo, when is this gonna end? Like that was literally like 5+ years. Yeah, man, these Lolcows, they gotta stop, bro. That was a crazy one, Yap Master. That was another crazy video from the man himself, Yap Master, yapping away. W video. If you guys liked the video, make sure to give a thumbs up. And if you're new here, thanks for staying till the end and subscribe. Y'all are going crazy with the views. One of my reactions have like almost 600 views now. That's only in like 2-3 days. So thank y'all for watching my video, running up the watch time too. I appreciate that. I love y'all. Thanks for all the new people watching. And I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.